Hey, it's Aaron the Metal Theologian, and we're going to do a little Norwegian rock special today, because, well, this one I saved for last, which is sort of one I've been after for a long time. It kind of freaked me out to fucking find a copy of it, and my mind's kind of still blown and shit, so we're going to talk about a few other ones. I'm going to save that one for last, but that was sort of the impetus to sort of go through and just, hit up some of these Norwegian bands, because, one thing I found sort of preparing for this thing is sort of going through these records is the Norwegian bands, at least to my ears, seem to be really unusually song-based as far as, compared to like other bands, even other parts of Scandinavia, where, you get a prog band and there's sort of an emphasis on jamminess and sort of these long extended things. And the Norwegian bands aren't seeming to do that so much. So maybe that's just my own ignorance talking here, because I've got 7 records I'm going to show. I'll just fucking let that cat out of the bag right now. So it's not like I have a whole fuckload here. And in fact, I was thinking about it, I was like, well, 7 records out of a country of about 5.5 million people, that really isn't all that bad, But if I compare that to how many US records I have, like 1 per million, that'll be about 300 American records, and I've heard a lot more good records from the United States than 300. So, again, that's probably my ignorance talking to a certain degree, but what I'm really sort of digging about the Norwegian bands is not just sort of their heaviness that they tend to gravitate towards, but also, again, just sort of the song-basedness, even with a band that's really as prog as any of these have gotten. So if you have any favorite Norwegian bands, tell me about them. I definitely am kind of new to this. There's some kind of glaring holes in here as far as famous bands go from Norway, like, well, shit, there you go, man. There are like 1 or 2 that I'm just not thinking of right now. I'm thinking of Culpeppers or Orchard, but they're Danish, if I'm not mistaken. But there are a couple of Danish bands that I probably ought to, or a couple of Norwegian bands I probably ought to know about, but really don't. Oh, Soft is one that comes to mind right off. I remember seeing a reissue of that kicking around a while back. And I guess they're kind of big as, Norwegian shit goes, but, I don't know. I never bought the record. Based on what I've read about them, it doesn't really seem like I like them all that much, frankly, so I probably did the right thing, because the reissue I saw was expensive and forget about originals. But, there might be some obvious holes, but if you have any favorite bands, especially if they're different and something that sort of like shake my expectation of Norway a little bit, tell me about it. Sort of in the spirit of Monkey See, Monkey Do, before I get into that, though. I've seen some people talking about Henry Cow lately, and I was sort of inspired to go out and grab this bad boy because of it. That's actually the 4th Henry Cow record, if I'm not mistaken. I did one with Slap Happy, and I'm not sure where that falls in the chronology, but, and this is an original on Interzone, which is probably, and it's probably the weirdest one that I've heard. The first ones were on Virgin, but this one, I don't know, I think this is the only press it got. And I used to have all these years ago, but I remember this one as being my favorite, and listening to it again, I know why. It's a little hard to articulate. It just seems further out and just a little bit sort of edgier, you know what I mean? Where some of the other ones are a little bit more straight up jazz, but fuck, I'll show it real quick. I was reaching for the soda because I'm thirsty, but so I found that one, and then I just sort of lucked into like this semi-package deal where I actually found sealed originals of some of the first 3 Henry Cow records, and I'm partially bringing this up because if you're after these bad boys, hit me up, and I might have a tip for you. Now these are, so this is my copy of In Praise of Learning that I just got. This isn't a separate deal, but, and I used to have a Virgin press of this, and I could have sworn that one had a gatefold cover. This one, personally, I'm not really all that crazy about, because I'm not really a big fan of Dagmar Cross's vocals. But these are on Red Records. I'll show the label real quick, because I don't know if the label did much else. But there's the A-side on all these. And then the B-side has this kind of cool-looking logo. It's funny, I always want to mix this label up with Red Rhino in my head. Like, I keep thinking, fuck, isn't that the Soviet France label? Or the label with the Soviet France things? But it's not. It's fucking different. And this is really all I'm aware of that ever came out on Red. I think they might have done some punk releases other than that. And I don't really know anything about Red Rhino, other than they did the original versions of some of those early Soviet France ones before Soviet France got their own label going too. But so anyway, there's my copy of that. This is the first one. This is Legend, or Leg End, depending on how you look at it. And again, the Virgin Press, I think said Henry Cow on the cover. The U.S. press didn't, and I'm pretty sure this is the same as I used to have. Now, I'll tell you something else, man. I had a little incident. If you don't keep your records in plastic, and you figure like, oh, you don't have to worry about it because you take care of your shit. Jesus Christ, what the fuck is that? Well, okay, that's nothing, but I had a little incident just this morning. I actually made fucking French toast, and I ate it in the living room, and I was walking out, and my kid was showing me something, and I was holding a plate. I was on my way back, and I was like going around, because I realized there's fucking maple syrup, and I was like trailing all over the god. I was like, fuck. It's like a huge disaster, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a big deal because I caught it right away, and a little water and shit to break down the sugar, but fucking of all things, maple syrup. You get that on your records, you're fucked. And I did splatter a couple, but it only got on these fucking plastic sleeves, and it was actually bad enough that I had to swap them out. But it was totally fucking not a big deal, you know what I mean? Sort of like when Coltrane pissed in my reggae section when he was little. I don't know if I've told that story before. If not, I'll tell it another time, but it'll probably embarrass him when he watches these later. But he's little enough, he's not watching my shit. Here's my copy of Unrest. This one does have the gatefold, and again, it's a Red Records release. The back looks kind of cool. And I don't know, man, I've just been digging these records. I mean, they're really, you know, very much sort of jazzy in spirit. They're not really, you know, they're prog, but they're almost not even prog rock. They're more like they wanted to be a jazz band, but it's rock guys doing it or something like that. So it's kind of gives a little bit of a funny vibe, but and you know, it's pretty, it's edgy stuff too. You know, like a lot of times you get these bands, and they just sort of noodle around, and they're like, oh, it's like they want to show that they can play hard bop or something like that. Even though they're not necessarily playing hard bop, it's like the approach to fusion kind of leaves me with that sort of feeling to it. But these guys are really just doing their own thing, and I really respect them for that. I've got to say too. I mean, if you're gonna get into prog rock, or you know, that's kind of your thing, or you just want to learn about it or whatever, but you should know Henry Calvert. This is the first band I'd send you to. I'd probably still send you to Genesis first like this. But especially with all the shit that I tend to give England sometimes about sort of the preciousness. I mean, Henry Calvert was really kind of in their own space, and deserve credit for it. I just went on the new Arrival real quick. That's a plain black cover, you're seeing that, right? This is actually a reissue of the very first two. It was actually released under Conrad Schnitzler's name, but it's the lineup from Cluster with a K. And it's just called Eruption. And this has actually been out for a couple of years, I think, but this is from '71. And if you dig electronic music, this thing is totally worth a fucking listen, which is why I'm showing this off. So if you don't already know Cluster, that's a whole other conversation, but that one's so worth a listen. If you've been like hesitating on that or not, or you like the Cluster with a C and you're not sure about going into Cluster with a K, that's probably a good entree because it's just more straightforward. I don't know, it doesn't have the vocals, but that might be the main thing. It's more electronic than the two actual albums. Alright, so anyway, we're going to go on to Norwegian rock, but first I'm going to have a sip of this because I'm fucking thirsty. And this is kind of special. This is a Filipino soda I found. And I believe, this looks like it's going to be a cola, especially because that fucking Pepsi ripoff logo, you know? But it says sarsaparilla flavors in here too, so maybe not. No caffeine. But yeah, I found this at the local Asian market. It's a very small bottle. That's not a trick. Fuck, I can't get this fucker open. I can't even get the fucking bottle open over there. There we go. Alright, let's try this, see how it is, man. It's 8.2 ounces, this fucker. Man, that's weird. God, that's fucking weird. Like, it definitely has a root beer thing going on, but it just has a really sort of perfumey thing. Like, it's like, imagine like you take a sip of root beer, and it smells kind of a little weird anyway, but like it's a root beer, but like all the flavor you're sensing in your nose instead of in your mouth. Like your mouth, you're feeling the wetness and shit, but like all the actual flavor. Maybe a little bit on your soft palate, but the rest is all just like in your nose and sinuses. That's what this is kind of like. God, that's fucking weird, man. There's a really flowery quality to it, man. I don't know what to say. It's, It's really unusual, man. I'll tell you something though, man. You want to try a weird soda, man? Go for the Asian shit. The Mexicans, they pretty much like the soda the same way Americans do. You know, they use the real sugar in Mexico. I'm sure everyone watching this knows. Who isn't skipping past this part? Everyone knows that you get the Mexican Coke if you want the cane sugar, and you want to pay the premium for, you know, the boutique fucking, you know, Coke with real sugar, as opposed to the HFC, high fructose corn syrup. The Asians do some weird stuff. It's weird, man. I don't know. Fucking, I don't know. What can I say? Definitely worth the taste. I love Filipino food. Alright, Filipino food I'll proselytize for all day. I won't do that with sarsi, or whatever the hell this is called. But I will say it's worth a try. Alright, so let's talk about some Norwegian bands. This is probably the biggest one. Actually, I only have one record by this band. You said the third one called Eagle Rock. This is their second one called Seawolf. And these guys weren't really much of a prog band. They weren't really all that heavy either. They're probably about as heavy as UFO, really, sort of in their prime. Very different sound from UFO, so I don't want to draw too close an analogy there, but as far as how heavy they were, I think UFO is probably a good touchstone, meaning that if you want to sound like Judas Priest, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're just looking for like solid, like rock that's unapologetic, Titanic's a pretty good band, and the songs are really good. So, yeah, I really like this record, and it's kind of been on my wish list to like seek out the first, and probably Eagle Rock too, the third one. But, you know, I haven't done anything about it since I've had this one. I got this a couple of years ago, so, ooh, goddamn. So, you know, it's not exactly eating at me or anything like that. There's Gatefold. So, yeah, these guys, I've actually left Norway pretty early in their career, if I'm not mistaken, and spent most of the time in France. They did reasonably well on the continent, too. I actually remember seeing their records around when I lived in Germany. But, I mean, not like UFO. I mean, it's not like these guys were huge or anything, but they had one or two singles, and they're probably reasonably well known. I'll bet at least one or two of you have heard of them. So this is a little bit more obscure. It's also more of like a balls-out rocker, okay, like most of these are. In fact, this guy's on some prog records, but I wouldn't even really call this a prog record. This is Freddy Lindquist. I might have shown some of these before. I feel like I might have shown this when I first got it. With the exception of that one, by the way, these are all reissues. I'll just fess up to that up front. But this is Menu by Freddy Lindquist, and there are a couple songs in here that are like kind of sort of straight up like blues progressions, and there's one that's like sort of halfway between a blues and a boogie. But overall, man, the guitar riffs are just crunchy, and the songs just, they stay with you. Now, there's one tune on here called Woman Running Around. It's on side 2, which is really kind of a corny chorus that kind of keeps getting repeated, and I'm like, okay, dude, I'm fucking over it already. And of course, it doesn't help that it's in English. If it were Norwegian, it wouldn't bug me, you know? But, I mean, here's a song title for you, too. Ridin', Huggin', and Kissin'. Yeah, I think that might have been better untranslated, too. But overall, man, this is a really good record. It's a really solid rocker, and if you like 70s hard rock, man, you're probably going to be really happy if you check this thing out. This is definitely worth a listen. Here's one where if you're looking for solid 70s rockers, you should actually stay the hell away from, because this is Min Bull, if I'm pronouncing that right, and this is Terje Rypdal's band. It's a 3-piece from 1970, and I don't remember who else is on here with it. Bjørnar Andersen and Johan Øyan, it looks like, if I'm pronouncing this shit right. My Norwegian kind of sucks, let me just apologize for that right now. But this is, it's really, you know something, if I hadn't bought this in the context I bought it, and this might actually even get filed in jazz. This has a rock feel to it, but from a compositional standpoint, this is really almost like a free jazz thing, and in a way, I dig it because of that even more, because it's Terje Rypdal on here. Because so much of his shit, I mean, y'all have heard me talking shit about some of the ECM stuff and that. I actually got another ECM record of his that I was going to talk about, never got around to, ended up filing away, and so that whole thing kind of got shelved, but I like some Terje Rypdal's ECM stuff, is what I'm saying, okay? But this record is fucking fantastic. It really is. I just listened the other day, I was like, God, is it really as good as I remember it? And yeah, it was. there are some parts in it where, okay, I said it was sort of like free jazz. Okay, from that standpoint, there's a little bit of like sort of that Coltrane and maybe Pharoah Sanders influence as far as the compositional approach, in that there'll be something like a relatively simple vamp. Okay, I'm thinking of like the vamp that underlying like Love Supreme or The Creator as a Master Plan by Pharoah Sanders, and the improvising happens on top of that. These are even simpler than that, though, if anything, and just really well executed, man. Just a really good record all the way through, man. Fucking totally solid, but not much of a rock record, you know. It's hard. I like that about it, but it's not rock. Now, this one's hard rock. First time I heard this, I kind of couldn't believe it. It's kind of funny. It has a Vertigo swirl there. Apparently, this originally came out of the Vertigo Spaceship label. But I've heard that there's a bootleg out there where they put a fake swirl label on it. If you're not watching Ben Ryan Rocks 84, if you're not watching his videos about the swirl label, you're missing out, because he has some amazing shit. But he showed all these swirls, and this is one he's not going to be showing whether he has it or not, because it didn't actually ever have a swirl, unless I'm really mistaken. Oh, the record originally came out in '76, which I think is late for the swirl anyway. Anyway, in a way, the cover kind of lets you in for what you're in for with this record, because it's very kind of dark and kind of heavy in concept. It doesn't quite make it an execution, though, just like that cover kind of doesn't. You know what I mean? That could be like as dark as like the first Sabbath, but it doesn't quite make it. There's just something about that cover that doesn't quite go all the way. You know what I mean? It only goes to 9 out of 10. You know, this gatefold doesn't really help. I'll show it off. I actually forgot what it looked like myself. So, yeah, anytime the dudes are in a circle like that. So, again, just really good songwriting on this thing. It does not sort of lapse into sort of standard like blues progressions and that sort of thing. And in a way, one of the things I appreciate about this is that they don't cop out that way. I don't think every song on here is great, but the songs on this record that are not great aren't not great because they lapsed into some cliche. It was like they sat down and wrote their own thing, and it just wasn't quite as good as like Demon in Your Heart, which is the first song on this thing, which is absolutely fucking fantastic. So I give this record a solid 8 or 9 out of 10 and very strongly recommend it. I'm trying to be a little bit honest about its shortcomings, but again, when I think of like, why would you do a record about, or a little special about Norwegian bands, this is one of the very top records that I would think of in that regard. In fact, I think of that one before the Freddy Lindquist, even though Freddie Lindquist is probably better known. I mean, I guess that's really why, though, you know, we sort of highlight the lesser known shit a little. God, that's so weird. There's some, like, flowery thing in this that I'm still kind of trying to pinpoint. It's weird. The sarsaparilla is almost like they took, like, I realize this isn't, like, how the actual thing works, but, like they had, like, a solid, like, brick of, like, I'm thinking like hash, but like preserved sarsaparilla and like ground it into a powder and like put that in there somehow. I don't know, man. It's just weird. Okay, so this is I think the only band here who actually sang in Norwegian. This is Høst, and the record's called Polsterke Vinger, if I'm not mistaken. And this is their first record, also if I'm not mistaken. This is a reissue again on the On label. They actually made a few records. These were kind of steep, though, so I didn't grab them all. But, you know something? I got this record. I kind of wasn't in the right headspace. I was like, that's nice, and I filed it away. I pulled this out like about a week ago, and I listened to it like 3-4 times. Like, this fucking thing was just awesome, man. And, you know, it's not the heaviest one that I'm showing here. But again, just the songs are fantastic. It has some prog inclinations for sure, you know, some prog feel to it, but it's not like total prog rock where it just meanders. I mean, look, there's 7 songs on it, you know what I mean? Same as a Deep Purple record from the classic era. Those all have 7 songs on them, you know? And a long one is like 9 minutes, you know, well, actually 10 minutes. But, again, the tunes are just good. It's melodic, but it's melodic not like in a precious way. It's melodic just like in a way that kind of keeps you interested and keeps you engaged. And man, Høst, I don't know, I kind of wish I grabbed those other records almost. So I guess they fired the whole band and kind of started over after that one. So who the hell knows? So, this is another one. I remember hearing this again when I was like in my early 20s. This is probably the one I found out earliest out of all these bands, except maybe Titanic. But this is Akasha. And these guys, on my records, I'm going to flip it real quick. Akasha, these guys... Alright, hang on one second. I'm going to be able to distract that. I'm just going to sit here and think about how it's quiet in the background if I don't fucking turn the record over. Alright, so, sort of, when I was getting ready for this show, I was looking through Dag Erik Asbjørnsen's book. In fact, shit, I left it in the other room. I'm not going to jump up again. Dag Erik Asbjørnsen, though, is kind of a fan of the dude. He wrote, what to my mind is the krautrock book, like, back in the 90s. And then, shit, also a long time ago, probably about 2000-ish or something, another sort of follow-up volume called Scented Gardens of the Mind, which was about... basically the whole rest of continental Europe. Well, not just continental, the whole rest of Europe outside of the UK, really. I don't think Ireland was included, but Iceland was. And if you've never seen a section in a book about bands from Luxembourg, then you haven't read Dag Erik Asbjørnsen. Okay. People think I know obscure shit. I have no records from Luxembourg. I have a couple that were pressed in Liechtenstein, but I have no records from there, okay? So, there you go. Anyway, awesome guy. Fucking, well, I mean, he might be a dick, but his books are fantastic, and I love his writing style, too, by the way. In his book, though, he says Akasha sounds to him like these guys sort of went, like, and made, like, rehearsed, this is a rehearsal tape for, like, Almond Duel 2 or something like that. And I completely disagree. I actually don't think this sounds anything like Almond Duel 2, except for the fact that it sounds like they were taking drugs when they made it. But if that's a criterion, then Tom Waits sounds like Almond Duel 2 as well. And come on. What's awesome about this record, I had this like on CD like back like in 95 or something like that, or I got it from... I want to say Wayside Music, actually, back then, like Cuneiform, Wayside. It was so long ago for you youngsters. When I placed the order, I actually sent them a fax. No shit. Okay? Anyway, I remember liking this record, so I saw it come out on vinyl, Black Widow did the reissue. I was like, oh, right on, fucking I can get that old gem again. And I put it on, I was like, man, this record's kind of wussy, I kind of like it, and I put it away and forgot about it, and so I was getting ready to do this, so I pulled it out. Fucking, I understand why I thought it was wussy, but the mellotron on this thing is like the whole fucking record. It's like their songs, it's kind of more jammy than most of these other ones. It's probably the most jammy record that I'm showing here, actually, as far as the tunes relative to sort of the soloing. But it's all just this fucking mellotron shit, man, and I love it, man. I can listen to this cornball, like, sort of ersatz electronic shit all day long. And what can I say? I'm making it sound worse than it is. The fact is, I love, primitive sounding electronics. And man, that's what a synthesizer was in 1970 or whenever this was cut. Maybe 71, 72. This is 76, actually, so it's pretty late. Anyway, it's kind of also, not the most inspired cover. The back actually looks really cool. There's no slide into the plastic here anyway. But look at that, that's totally a show I would want to go to, man. Fuck, So yeah, would I totally recommend this record? I don't know, maybe if you're a sucker for the electronics like me, absolutely just grab it. Otherwise, listen to it on YouTube, man. These guys deserve a listen. But, if you're like looking for a good hard rock record, you ought to buy the Flax record, not that one. Or else, and this is the one that got me going. This is why I wanted to do it. This one right here. Oh, baby, look at that. That's the Aunt Mary record. And it's not an original, because originals are like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But this is a new reissue. I used to have one. There's a really shitty one, man. It was like a blank cover with like an 8.5 by 11. Probably 8.4 actually, but 8.5 by 11, like Xerox glued to the cover, like the cheapest fucking thing ever, man. It actually sounded pretty good, and they took the trouble to reproduce, also in Xerox form, the poster that came in this thing too. But this one has like the when it says poster include, first of all, the cover's in color, but it has the original die cut cover too, and it has a reproduction of the poster too, which I'm not going to pull out right now because there's kind of no point, you know. I don't do a lot of that because you can go and like look this shit up if you want to, you know. But yeah, it's on white vinyl though. It sounds great. So seriously, hats off to the micro label in Norway that put this out, and I ordered it directly from Norway. This one too. A lot of these I got from Rockadrome or whatever, or some other places that I'm not going to talk about in the video. But this was, yeah, this one came directly from the source, and I'll tell you, I did not find anyone. Not only did I not find anyone on this side of the Atlantic distributing this, I didn't see anyone outside of Norway, and it seemed like the fucking thing was already sold out. So jump on it if you will. Or if you can, because this record is such a motherfucker. This is probably my single favorite Norwegian record. And again, it was one of these deals where I started questioning myself, I haven't heard that in so long, is it really that good? Man, it totally is. Fucking hard rock, lots of heavy organ, but like heavy riffs, just really good songwriting. Like everything I've been saying about the Norwegian bands and the songwriting, right here, man. The very last tune, G flat Road, G flat, okay? Oh shit, it's gonna be they're gonna play a blues progression in G flat, right? You know what I mean? Or no, it's fucking awesome, man. Every song on this thing is really cool, man. And just Aunt Mary is just a fantastic hard rocker. They had a few other records, and they're all pretty different. So I should probably mention this stuff too. I actually used to have a different one, just self-titled, and they have like this weird sort of abstract looking like cartoonish picture on the cover. It was actually a compilation of their stuff from the late 60s. And they were definitely a lot more of a beat band at that point in time. So this one is 72, it says. And by 72, they become this great hard rock band. Now after this, they put out another record, which is actually a double, which Karma reissued. I kind of wish I grabbed it, but that was called Janus. And that one is supposed to be a lot more like a straight up prog rock band. So, you know, if you're looking for the hard rock shit, this is where it's at. The CD, it's funny, has been available for a long time, but the first and third ones would turn up, but this one, man, just didn't so recently. So I about jumped for joy, man. This one wasn't cheap to get either, but I happily forked over my cash on that one. So that's it. That's what I've got from Norway. I've got some black metal. I've got some regular metal too, man. There are actually lots of great metal bands from Norway too. But that's pretty much what I've got for the old 70s shit. I've been playing the shit out of most of these all week and loving them. Just, I don't know, what can I say, man? I talk about Germany a lot in my videos because I love German bands, but like when I look at the quality of my Norwegian collection and this, you know, again, it's just 7 records, but if I look at that, it's like a really solid 7 records, you know what I mean? Every single one totally has a place there. So what can I say, man? If you see a record and it has Norwegian on it, you're like, this is made in Norway, you might want to think about just checking it out just because of that. So the Swedes make good records too, so do the Danes and the Finns, but the Norwegians are pretty damn consistent, and so were the Finns too, man. In fact, I'd pretty much buy a record just because it's Swedish too. The Danish I might think twice. No offense if you're Danish watching this, but I've just heard more Danish clunkers than anything else. Or than any of the other Scandinavian countries. Actually, fuck it, I'm not going to start talking about Iceland because I'm talking my ass anyway. Thanks for watching, and hope it turned you on to something cool. Listen to Aunt Mary and Flax and Hust. You'll be happy you did. Right on. Till next time.